Hi, this is Jaya. Now we shall see the summary of The Last Clock written by James Thurber. Come, let's go to the summary. The Last Clock by James Thurber is actually a fable. Fable means it is a story where animals will be like human characters. They'll behave like human beings, and generally one lesson will be taught for us or a moral will be passed on to us through this story. The best example is a Panchatantra. A Panchatantra will have only animals or birds behaving like human beings, and in the end one lesson or a moral will be passed on to the readers. And James Thurber is actually famous for his drawings, cartoons, short stories and fables. And the central character in this fable are ogres. Now, ogres you would have seen in some movies. They are imaginary creatures being very large, and they'll be very ugly, and they'll have large heads, and they'll have a hairy body. And here one ogre becomes very sick, and why he falls sick is because he is continuously eating clocks. So his ogress, she brings a doctor to check him, but the doctor says that this is not his area of specialization, and he tells the ogress to go and call a clockman. So the ogress goes and she brings in a clockman, but the person who comes is not a clockman but a clogman, and his job is only to clean the drains and pipes which are clogged. That is, the blocked pipes, all he will unclog them. So now what happens is the ogress goes and brings another general practitioner, and he advises them to ignore this problem. He says, don't bother about this problem. That itself will automatically go away if you don't do anything to it. Now what happens is the condition of the ogre becomes worse, and the main problem is he eats of all the clocks in the town. That is, from the small alarm clock to mantelpiece clocks, grandfather clocks to tower clocks. And in between he swallows all little watches, like adding salt and pepper to the clocks. Now what happened is the people in the town did not know the time at all. So they kept on sleeping because there was no alarm clock to wake them. They did not go to the work because they do not know what time it is. They did not even go to the church, or even the children did not go to school. So factories and shops had to close down, and trains also stopped running because they also did not know the time. And the people had to just stay at home. So now what happened is the town council held an emergency meeting, and members came at different times because they also did not know what time it is and what time they have to be there and all that, and some did not come at all because they did not know at what time to come. So this case was brought to the court. Now the charge was against the ogre for clock eating. Now a psychochronologist, that is a psychologist and a chronologist mixed together, he was called to the witness stand. The mayor also came late, and they called a clockonomist, that is an economist who studies economy in relation to clocks, to the stand. The clockonomist spoke that if the consumer had consumed all the clocks, what will happen is the price of the remaining clocks will become high. But the best part is, actually in the town there were no clocks at all left, and there was also no clockonomy left to deal with the situation. So the clockonomist suggested that they transfer this case to another town where the clocks were still there. Now they called a philosopher, that is a person who knows about clocks and a person who is good in philosophy. But he also felt helpless, and he also left because he could not say anything for this. The Lord Mayor also wanted to deport the ogre. Now the ogre had so many clocks inside him, so you cannot deport him, you can only export him. And the law of the land is, when you are exporting something, you have to send it in a regular container, but you can't send the ogre in the regular container. Now after 3 weeks, the ogre had consumed this last clock, he fell very ill. And the chief diagnostician, he came and he wasn't very sure whether what sort of a disease this augur was suffering from, whether it was a clocatus or clocosis or glaucoma or clocothria, or it can be even a minor problem like clocking, cough, ticking pox or clumps. Now the case was shifted to the supreme prosecutor. Now they were not able to come to any idea, so they called the summit conference. And in that, someone suggested that they use sundials where they can find out the time using the sun's shadow. But the problem is, these sundials will tell you the time only when the sun shines. What when there is no sun? In the evenings, in the night, how will you know the time? And at that time, what happened is, they heard the sound of a clock ticking. And even then, after some time, they heard it striking the hour. Now everyone was so excited because there was one clock remaining in the town to show them the time. And the supreme magistrate suggested that that particular clock can be installed in the tower, and everyone can see the time from there, and life will become normal like before. But again a doubt came. What if this augur goes and eats of that clock also? When they were talking about that, they come to know that the augur had died. So the collector insisted that this was the last clock which they have found, which is working in the town, and such things must be placed in the museum. And at the same time, whatever is kept in the museum generally does not function. So this clock must not be wound, and it must be allowed to run down and then come to a stop. Then in the next day at 9 minutes to 12, the clock stopped and was kept in the museum. Again the life in the town came to a standstill. The factories and schools all got shut down, trains stopped running, and the town got buried by the sands of a desert. After many years, a spaceship from Venus landed on the earth. A man and a woman explorer, they came down from the spaceship and they found this last clock. But they did not have any idea about what it was, so they labeled it as antique mechanism, function uncertain, and they took that to the Venus. The story ends here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. And while subscribing, don't forget to press the bell button. Only then you will get the notification of all my videos. Thank you.